Ridgewood. We're going to interview Carlos Guitarlos, and this is the Winslow Court Studios where he's recorded his last 3 records. And we're going to meet Craig, the engineer, who's been kind enough to let us come in and do the interview. Let's go meet him.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Craig.
Hey, Ian.
Ian, nice
Thanks
to meet
for
you.
having us.
Come on in.
Wow.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bitchin' room.
This is the main tracking room, yeah.
Now I think they were telling me this is the old RCA.
Well, originally, yeah, as the story was explained to me, this place was built like in the late 20s.
Okay.
And was an RCA location and was used up somewhere into the 50s, and then it switched over to Liberace.
And this is his private.
Yeah.
This was his space.
Yeah, that's as it was explained to me.
Wow.
And then Liberace had sold it to Bruce Scott, the co-creator of Time Code and Scott Sound, which was a big kind of television film production place. And it was actually Bruce's daughter, Jill, that told me that her dad bought it from Liberace, and he actually had a concert grand full size in the next room and gave it to him with the purchase. So
Wow.
yeah, and then they sold it sometime I think in the early 80s. And then it's been the same owner ever since, and now I've had it for 14 years, and I lease it, and I do everything from opera to punk in here, you know. I mean,
That's great.
It's such an awesome room, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and tell me, look at the way the room's shaped.
Yeah, I mean, it was acoustically designed. Engineers really thought this one out. I mean, it's got these diffusers on every wall, floor to ceiling. There's 5 different floor surfaces, which is a tremendous value when tracking to keep out vibrations from, you know, other instruments and things like that.
Absolutely.
And it works great as a live room. You know, because of these diffusers, you get a great amount of separation. And so, you know, you get the band, everybody's all close together, and they got the vibe going. And then it's, you know, there's enough separation where if somebody, you know, makes a mistake, you don't blow a whole take.
Right.
You know?
Whereas that's usually not the case anymore. There's no rooms that can do that. That's why everybody tracks separately usually. You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
So
yeah,
that's amazing. You can do that in here.
Yeah, just with the gobos, you put them in front of the amps, and that shuts them down. You know, keeps them, you know, from the overheads out of the drums. You know.
Right.
And so it works fine.
And what's the story with these? These look pretty psychedelic right here.
Well, oh yeah, well, the gobos.
Yeah.
Yeah, these back here actually used to belong to the Doors. I don't know if you can see the prints or not, but the original material is still on them. And I've been trying to get shots of the band in the studio back in the day with these gobos. I've seen them with similar ones, but not these exact ones.
Yeah, right.
And but anyways, yeah. So the guy who basically gave them to me, that was the story with that.
It's amazing.
So, yeah.
I just love that little pieces of history like that can still turn up. You know?
Yeah. They
in great shape nonetheless. You know.
Yeah, and they're amazing at what they do. I mean, imagine like those amps over there when those things are on and they're really loud, and 5 feet away you got a drum set. It's like, how is that not going into the overhead mics?
Yeah,
but these things are just made so well, and they just wheel them in front, and that's all there is to it. So
amazing.
And it is also a Foley stage. So they used to do sound effects for films in here too. So all the surfaces are underneath the floor.
So as you remove these panels,
you pull them up, and under each one there's 2 different surfaces. So I mean, that's really great for those people who want to adventure when they're recording and go for certain sounds or try different things.
Sure.
You know, amps sound different on different surfaces. So
one of my old bands we did a stomp track before.
Oh yeah.
In our song where everybody had their boots, and you know, so I'm sure this should have been the room we did it in.
Well, I've done that on country records with the hardwood planks, you know, like the westerns. But I've also had like Broadway tap dancers in here on regular either linoleum or regular hardwood to do tap dancing as well. So
wow, and it picks it up. You can
perfect.
Wow.
Oh yeah, beautifully.
Because that's a really hard thing to try to pick up.
Yeah, they just have to dance in the space on the surface. But the woman who came in and did it, she was phenomenal, and she just stood in that space, and it sounded amazing. That's
pretty awesome. That
cool.
can be done. Wow.
Yeah. So
very cool.
This is a hall, but I actually use this for my vocal booth. I had a special door put in so the singer could be separate from the group, but still have visual contact. Because when you're tracking, when you want that big vocal sound, you're not going to use like a 58 or something where, you know, in the room like that, you could get away with it. But if you bring a Neumann or something like that, it's going to throw off everything. It's all going to be drums. So I needed a way to cut live vocals, but keep them isolated sonically.
And then you still have communication.
Yeah.
You have a pop filter mounted right on the wall.
I really had no choice because originally I looked into putting in a vocal booth but then it would throw off the sonics of the room, you know.
Oh, like a vocal booth inside of there. Yeah, anything would probably throw off how they designed it. Yeah.
So I lucked out when a glass company moved in on the block, and I had them come over, and they just took out the door, and next thing you know, I got a vocal booth. So
perfect.
This is my vocal booth. So how about you?
Why not? That's so I love the way that's mounted on the wall right there.
Back there's a restroom, and here's a lounge, you know, for hanging out. Really cool room. And what's interesting about this room? That was Frank's Mobile. So that went from gig to gig, and you know.
Yeah, that's on wheels. That's in
a truck.
In a truck.
That's a truck. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And it used to be in my living room, but it works better here. So.
It's a good spot for it.
Yeah. And this lounge actually has turned out to be a great asset because this is a multiple room that I'll use for tracking. That if you notice the floor, it's the original tile. And there's a very distinctive sound to that old school tile. Mm-hmm. When I was going to have it recarpeted in here, and I pulled up the carpet, I saw that. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to, you know, get rid of that.
Right.
And this wasn't made for a lounge. I mean, look at the ceiling. That's the original acoustical tile.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just happen to use this for a lounge, but I also will use it for recording instruments. It's great for uprights. It's great when I did the first record with Carlos. Mm-hmm. It was the same time I was going to recarpet this floor, and I knew instantly it's like this is going to be great for his sound, you know, working off of this kind of material. And sure enough, I mean, it sounds amazing.
So far the whole place is functional.
I have to make it functional.
You know, that's amazing.
Yeah. Here's the control room.
Oh wow, look at it. These are all people you've recorded in here?
These are basically CD covers that my wife blows up for me and scans them, and I get the fellas and the ladies to sign them when they come back.
Well, some of my friends, there's our friend Carlos who we're talking to today.
Yeah, there's Carlos.
Generators, Alvin,
lots of Dave
Knitters.
Alvin stuff, Knitters, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Stan Ridgeway, a lot of Peter Case.
Oh yeah, I've opened for him one time.
This guy, Jack Tempchin, great California songwriter, all those hits for the Eagles and whatnot. So
oh yeah.
Greg Copeland's another one of those great guys. So yeah, I mean it's a huge variety of artists that I've been lucky enough to work with. You know, the genres is kind of all over the place. You know.
Yeah, no kidding. It's really cool the way you guys decided to do this because people can get a feel. They walk in and go, "Oh, what? They haven't been here before," and be like, "Oh, wow, you've done this, you've done that. This is great."
Well, I always get a little nervous because, you know, for being a player yourself, I'm sure you've been in the $1 million studios, right? And the beautiful.
Very rarely.
Well, you know,
not usually for my own stuff.
Well, that real opulent thing, you know, it's. I know that a lot of people really kind of aspire or like that. And this studio, because it was originally I got it as my private use, and then it turned into a business. I've always kept it kind of as it originally was.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, and most people seem happy about that. You know, I've made some upgrades over the years, but anytime I get an idea, like I really want to do something to change or improve the decor, most of my clients kind of balk and go, don't. They like the kind of clubhouse, not pretentious kind of vibe or whatever. You know,
I instantly feel comfortable in here. Yeah. It seems like everything has its purpose, and like I said, I've only been in those big $1 million studios just to like walk in because I happen to know somebody and like, oh wow, this is great, thanks for having me. I feel very awkward in a studio. Just down the road, I think it's what is it, the record plant that's down the road?
There's also Paramount's right across the street. I mean, there's tons of them. They're all over the place.
Well, I laid down a couple tracks in the room that Elvis did Viva Las Vegas in.
Oh, right. That's down on Orange and.
We're just right down from here, down Santa Monica, and that's the first time I've really tracked in a studio like that. Right. It was actually really scary. You know, the soundboard was.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like 30 or 40 feet away through like a bunch of glass. You're like, I can't really see you over there. Right. So this is where that whole drawn out thing I'm trying to get back to is. This is what I've always recorded in these environments, and for me, this is the most comfortable I am. You know, in a place like this.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, it seems like you've created, you know, a little home away from home, and that's what I like, you know,
basically.
Personally.
Yeah. You know, that's what people respond to when they come in. They kind of sense that right away. And then also, too, because I'm a player, I know what they want, and they want space. They want, you know, no pressure. They want freedom. They want to be relaxed, and they want to have it sonically sound great.
Sure.
And so I've kept it really simple. I used to have my 2-inch 16-track 3M, which I do miss, and the board and all of that. And I've, you know, simplified it to a Pro Tools HD rig. But I got a great front end and great converters, and it's really about the artist.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's a great room. So, you know, they're comfortable out there. I can catch it and get it caught real quick, and they usually always seem to be very pleased.
Sure. And we all love big old 16-track boards, and we all love 2-inch tape machines, and we love having all the real stuff. But I mean, these days they're making stuff that's pretty easy for someone in your position to shrink it all down a little bit, just to save some space, and you know.
It's very true. You know, because of all the different styles and how old this room is, there's a common year that this room always speaks to me. You know, when somebody says, what kind of sounds do you get out of there? This place, for whatever reason, is 1973. I don't know why, it just is. There's just a tonality at times, and that doesn't mean every instrument, every record I do, but that's a commonality.
Sure.
There's just something to the vibe of this place, the way things sonically get caught, that go to that feel, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if I said, I actually had one of my drum kits that I have, is kind of John Bonham specs. You know, it's like the 14, 16, 18, the big 26-inch kicker.
Yeah.
I mean, if I said to you, hey, I want to bring in my big John Bonham kit and do, you know, a John Bonham sound in here, that's kind of the era, you know, kind of the...
Absolutely, you can definitely do that. You know, I learned, I went to a little seminar over at the Grammys with Eddie Kramer and Andy Johns talking about recording just that, John Bonham and the Zeppelin records. And from what they had told us and what I picked up from them, I came back and literally changed the way, with 2 close mics on his amp and 1 room mic, every song that's mixed by Mark Lynette, it's just a varying degree of how much room or how close of the left and right. And when you hear those varying degrees, every song was recorded the exact same way, but every song sonically has a different feel just because of the way we mixed. And it just showcases that room. And,
sure.
And Carlos just lit that room up, as I knew.
Yeah, and that guitar sound is amazing on those records. You did 3 of those records in Carlos's records here.
Yeah, and I met Carlos because, what's his name? Bobby Ricketts from the Groovy Rednecks, a great guitar player, told me to tag along to a show they were doing to go see Carlos play. I didn't know who he was, but I knew what he was from because Top Jimmy. And I knew Top Jimmy from Van Halen because I was a big early Van Halen fan. So I went and saw him, and he the minute I saw him, he just absolutely blew me away. I'd never seen anything like that ever.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing.
It was incredible. So Bobby Ricketts was right on the money. And so anyways, I saw him, and I went up to Carlos after the gig. I'm like, dude, you're amazing, you know. And he's like, thanks, go buy my records.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And those records were fantastic, but they weren't what I just saw on stage. You know?
I see. Yeah, so that's when you started really thinking about it.
That's right. In my mind, I was like, gosh, you know, I would really love to produce this guy, but who am I to him? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so basically, to put it frankly, I bought my way into his life by just saying, look, I would love to produce a record. I'll cover everything. I heard it in my head, what I saw him play.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a 1946 Patsy Cline on a flatbed out in a field. That's what I was hearing.
Wow.
You know, and that's what I wanted to hear on record.
Yeah.
And I think we got it. We nailed it, you know.
Those records sound great. Yeah. And, you know, and sometimes, luckily, you had the means.
Yes, at that time, I had the means.
Every time you walk in this place and flip the switches, I'm sure it starts costing you money. But you can do that. You can go, you know what?
Yeah.
This is my place. And this is a guy that I need to get a record cut or multiple record cuts or whatever.